Now there are a couple of other commands you can do on 2D objects once you've got them planted, and that's the move command up here and the scale command. There's no rotate command because 2D objects automatically rotate to face you, unlike 3D objects, because there's only one view. Wherever you are on the course, the object will always face you, so there is no rotate command. But to scale is a simple matter. Just select the item you want, or items if you wanted to scale more than one. I can add that with the shift key as usual. And if I turn the scale on, you can either just drag it left and right with the mouse on the screen to scale it, or you can actually type in the heights. You'll see as I drag it, those heights change. You can just type in if you know what height you want something. You can alter it that way. The other command, the move command, because I'm in the Z axis here, if I select this tree, I can pull it up into the sky, or I can pull it down into the ground. So it's quite handy actually to be able to do this, because you can change the look of certain things. You can sometimes pull a tree down into the ground so that it looks like a bush, and just keep the leafy part at the top and use that as a bush instead of as a tree. Also, if you have forgotten to set the depth, the correct planting depth marker, and you find that one specific tree is floating on your course, you can select all of those trees with the box select current only, zoom out, just go around the whole of your course, select the whole lot at once, and then you can zoom in and use select move, and then just adjust them all down at once so that they're not floating. I won't do that because these ones are okay. Let's just delete that tree, I don't need that one. Now, on the XY axis it's slightly different with planted objects because of the depth marker. If you move in the XY axis, it doesn't just move horizontally, it will actually move according to where the terrain is. So if I drag a tree down a hill, if it was a vert, it would just move across, but the tree will actually stay planted at the correct depth as I move it down the hill, so it's always fixed to the ground, so you won't end up with floating trees by moving the tree across to a lower or higher piece of ground. It will actually, because of the planting depth marker, it will automatically adjust wherever you drag it, so that's really useful. It also has another great side effect, in which if you move the land, if for some reason you need to edit the land itself, you're going to have a big problem with floating plants and plants stuck halfway through the ground, because they won't automatically adjust to the new terrain. So I'm just going to demonstrate the problem and how to solve it. So let's say we've got a piece of land here, and I'm just going to alter the lie of it. So I'm just going to pull it down. So let's say for some reason we altered this piece of land, and what we'll find now, it's hard to see on the course, but of course all these trees are now floating. They were attached to the ground, they're now 6 foot up in the air. Now, because when we move objects horizontally, they automatically follow the terrain to the correct planting depth, what we can do is select everything in this area that's planted. Not sure if I can see, there we go, up here. So if I box select this area and everything that's planted on it, so I'll go to select, box select, and I'll just grab. Would help if I was on the planting screen, wouldn't it? Box select everything that's in that area, plus a few that are okay. This is because it's going to make it easier. Now what I need to do now is scroll round to some that I know are at the correct depth, which these ones haven't moved, and get a view down, so I'm panning the camera around to the ones that I know are wrong, these floating in the sky ones. And if I can keep those in view, all I need to do while I'm on the XY axis, this is important, you must be on the XY for the planting to follow the terrain, so I'll go to XY. Now if I'm on move, I can grab everything together by clicking and holding. Nothing happens until I move, but as soon as I move just very slightly the tree that I've grabbed hold of, you'll see all the others that were floating have jumped down and stuck themselves to the ground again. So we can now alter the terrain even after we've planted it, and all the plants will just leap down and go back to where they should be according to their planting depth. Now the reason I moved over here so that I could alter one, what you find is if you try and do it with the ones in the air, if I go back to the floating trees, if you zoom in near a floating tree and then try and move it, because it's going to jump, it's very hard to know whether it's jumped down or slightly across. If you've moved your hand more than you meant to, you can end up moving the planting way off from where it used to be. So by moving a plant that's already on the ground, you can see it's only moved a tiny amount. So that's why I took the camera to one that hadn't been moved and viewed the others in the distance.